Stay with me till the end of this story, because what I'm about to share goes beyond any typical investigation and unfolds a chilling truth that will haunt your thoughts long after the last word. It's a tale of shadows lurking within walls, of mysteries stitched together by silence and blood, and of a horror that defies explanation. So strap in for a descent into the heart of a nightmare, where the ordinary turns grotesque and fear whispers constantly just out of sight. This is not just a story you hear, it's one you feel deep in your bones and refuse to forget. Before we delve further, I urge you to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell right now to support the channel and never miss the unraveling of these dark stories that explore the unexplained, the terrifying, and the utterly strange with unmatched detail and care. Because every subscriber fuels the next step deeper into this unsettling journey where true horror lives. With that, let's begin from the beginning, where the ordinary started to unravel into something horrendous. The engine of my car was still humming softly as I pulled up to the address, leaving just enough time for the radiator to tick suspiciously in quiet protest. The building before me rose 4 stories high, its concrete walls worn down to a dull gray, so faded and lifeless that it seamlessly merged with the bleak, overcast sky above. Cracks fissured along the facade, forming narrow diagonal patterns that looked old and untouched except where someone had slapped on foam sealant over the largest ones, with a half-hearted attempt to hide the building's decay. Scattered rusted window units buzzed intermittently on the top floors, their grime-smeared glass concealing thin faces that hovered behind curtains, some shrinking away when they spotted me in plain clothes, while others just stared unblinkingly as I approached. Bright yellow caution tape stretched across the front entrance, flapping faintly in the cold wind. 2 tired-looking police uniforms stood guard, their unshaven faces heavy with fatigue, as though they'd been fighting exhaustion for days. One glanced up, nodded silently, and peeled back the tape without wasting words. "Go, Detective Hanley." I identified myself as my badge gleamed under the grime-filled daylight before he could ask. "Unit 3, Charlie, on the 3rd floor. You'll want to see it firsthand," he said, eyes tired but eager to pass responsibility along. I made no comment, my silence apparently a relief for him. That stairwell reeked of mildew combined with the cheap, industrial tang of detergent that promised only superficial cleanliness. On the stained linoleum, a faded blood trail leaked beneath the victim's door, smeared faintly down to the base of the stairs, a macabre breadcrumb path leading straight to death. Rats darted nervously into shadows, borrowing the silence beneath the cracked stair edges as I ascended. When I reached Unit 3, Charlie, the door hung open, propped by a folding wedge beneath the hinge. Inside, 2 more officers stood like sentinels, the first engrossed in scrawling notes in a small flip notepad, the other pale and tense, arms tightly crossed as if bracing himself. No formalities, no greetings, just the heavy weight of anticipation. I edged inside, scanning every inch but careful not to disturb a single thing. The air hung heavy, thick, and humid like the breath of decay itself, and there, in the far corner of the living room, lay what once had been a woman, now a grotesque heap of crushed limbs. Her neck twisted at an impossible angle, signaling a broken spine. Her jaw dangled precariously from torn muscle. The mutilation was savage and unmistakably inflicted by a blunt object. Blood, dark and viscous, splattered in eerie white glistening mists and thick streaks across the worn vinyl floor. Some parts dry at the edges, others still sticky to the touch. One arm was missing altogether, ripped off in a violence impossible to ignore. I consciously slowed my breathing to keep from succumbing to nausea. The intact walls were free from damage. No overturned furniture, no broken lamps or shattered frames, nothing to imply she had struggled. This was a grim, one-sided assault. Who discovered her? I asked quietly. The uniform replied, "Neighbors 2 doors down. She called when she heard screaming. Time was 10:26. Front door locked with no signs of forced entrance. Chain lock was still engaged when we arrived, so we had to kick it open. There were rats inside already, but the victim was dead long before that." This narrowed possibilities in a way I couldn't stand. Moving closer to the body, I examined her hands carefully. No defensive wounds, fingers intact. Lifting her chin gently with gloved hands, I inspected her mouth. All blood inside from impact. No signs of biting or gagging. Not a speck of dirt, hair, or clothing fibers clinging where they shouldn't. No bruises on the remaining hand. No sign she fought back. Her apartment was innocent. 1 bedroom, simplicity itself. A tidy open kitchenette, books stacked neatly, a single wine glass drying by the sink. But the fridge looked ransacked, suggesting whoever did this had planned it meticulously. Stepping back, I yielded the crime scene to forensics while gearing up to interview neighbors. The hallway was eerily quiet except for the subtle presence of a man in a gray tank top slumped against a doorway, swollen eyes and crossed arms, betraying sleepless nights. "You the one who called?" I asked. Shaking his head, he said, "No. That was Flora, down at the end of the hall. But I heard it too. A loud, fast noise. No words screamed, but like a silent scream, or thudding and crashing." "Was that normal around here?" I pushed. He flicked a bitter scoff. "No, she was quiet, never even on the phone. No partner, rarely company." I checked his hands for marks. He passed clean, gave me a logged alibi, a cell phone delivery timestamp at 10:19. I moved on. Next neighbors gave little more than faint echoes of thumping noises, dismissed as possible domestic spatters. The man across the hall was on night shift. All knew her by first name. All had good things to say. Then the older woman upstairs appeared, disheveled, her breath heavy with the scent of unwashed clothes. "I knew it would come," she muttered, ducking behind a door frame, her voice trembling. "There's something in the walls, always scratching, always moving." When I pressed, "Rats?" She shook her head. I shrugged it off as senility and isolation. Last was the victim's upstairs neighbor, hooded eyes heavy with grief, still holding his toddler son, who whimpered quietly, his face streaked with tears, hair wild, trembling as he answered, "Your detective? Someone said you'd come plus." "Did you hear anything unusual?" I asked. He nodded. A scream, sharp and quick, then pounding like vibrations through the floor. My son cried, then silence. Asked about cameras, he showed me a baby monitor camera on loop of the baby's room. No unusual people in footage. Taking his details, I headed back down to review the building's CCTV. The landlord's half-working system showed entrance, third-floor hallway in front of victim's door, and a broken stairwell feed. Useless. Footage revealed 10 people entering and leaving in the preceding 12 hours. 4 delivery drivers, 3 known residents, and others were staff or cops. Post 911 call. Back at the scene, the forensic crew had packed. The blood dried. Standing alone in the living room, I felt something deeply off. Like a shadow that didn't leave, my gaze settled above the center near the light fixture. Blood splattered up to the white stucco wall and ceiling near an AC vent, and there lay a single handprint, distinct from the chaos. It was smudged, thumb rotated unnaturally outward, deliberate. I tried reaching for it, standing on the couch, my 5'4" height unable to grasp the mark nearly 8 inches beyond reach. It couldn't be her. Killers leaving signatures were rare but known. I snapped photos from multiple angles and logged facts. I requested regular patrol sweeps of the building, including night shifts. No witnesses came forward. Stepping outside, I spared one last look at that handprint, pressed into the ceiling, growing uneasy. That night unfolded in a blur. The glow of my monitor reflected the name. Samantha Ortega, 32 years old, no criminal history, data entry clerk for a downtown insurance firm, living alone, rent paid on time, no boyfriend on records. Online presence calm. Pictures of cats, coffee, meme, no exes or threats. Work records confirmed her quiet but kind persona. No red flags in messages, no unusual contacts. Only the handprint hinted at inexplicable violence. I flagged intensified patrols and closed files, restless sleep alluding to a dark pattern. A week later, phone jolted me to a new nightmare. Another body found, Unit 4 Charlie, same building. The crime scene flooded with flashing blue and red. A different kind of horror waited inside. Officer Gella clutched a screaming infant, eyes wide with panic. Inside, rats flooded again, scores of them. The victim lay broken. The man holding the crying son days ago, now lifeless with neck snapped and crushed ribs. But his entire head was gone. Same calm apartment, no forced entry, no struggle. Again, above the couch, near the AC vent, another handprint. This one clean and bold without smudging. The grip tightening in my chest as the face on the ceiling seemed like a taunt, a signature from a deranged mind. Examining the vent, one screw loosened as though ripped, rather than unscrewed. Pry it open and a cold draft hit my face. The smell of urine, fur, mold filled the air. No light penetrated the shaft, but movement scraped within. Daring to reach in provoked a vicious bite tearing my glove and skin. Rats defending a nest. The CCTV offered no fresh clues. Aligning the photos of the two handprints side by side, I hypothesized a vertical pattern arising. The victims were adjacent floors, their units, 3 Charlie and 4 Charlie. The sinister signature seemed to point upwards. The department approved moving forward. I called for contact info on tenant of 5 Charlie and urged evacuation for their safety. Fingerprint results on the handprints struck terror. Human, female, matched Samantha Ortega's prints, though she'd been dead a week. Connecting dots revealed a sadistic truth. Killer had severed and used her arm to leave a fresh, bloody handprint, mocking the entire investigation. I waited to speak with the tenant of 5 Charlie. The shaken man answered, weary eyes and stained shirt, quickly packing with wife at sister's house nearby. Building emptied overnight under a fabricated gas leak pretense. Pest control sealed and fumigated every inch. Days later, contractors showed me what they'd uncovered. A swollen, diseased mass of intertwined rats, flailing and fused into a grotesque rat king, coated in the limbs of victims. The media scorned the building for its infestation, but the murders remained unresolved. That is, until the final and most terrifying encounter. Returning to 5D late at night after hearing the crash and screams, I forced open the door to find not a man but a massive, shifting humanoid form composed entirely of rats, piled like a monstrous sculpture, eyes blinking within the human skin mask of the murdered man. With a severed human arm, Samantha's, attached, and the body it preyed upon below. Shooting failed to stop it. Rounds evaporating into dark vapor, struck aside and slammed into a door frame, injuries stealing my sight and strength. The rat monstrosity retreated up the vent shafts, imprinting yet another bloody handprint on the ceiling, disappearing like a nightmare into the darkness. Backup flooded the building moments later, but the entity was gone, leaving only questions and horrors behind. Hospitalized with bruises, concussion, and wounds, I refused to speak of what I saw. The building remained occupied despite the dangers. Determined, I warned the negligent owner ruthlessly, forcing a full evacuation and sealing. The final discovery of the Rat King corpse in a dumpster, swollen with the victim's limbs, was the grotesque epitaph of this unsolved saga. Law enforcement closed the files officially unsolved, but in my heart, I knew the terror within that building, the killer who mocked us with bloody handprints, and the impossible Rat King was a darkness yet to be fully ended or understood.